The golf course behind you. Spent
That's a
many
nice
of an
thing.
yeah, I spent many an hour right there. So,
Did you?
oh yeah.
David, I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda.
Okay. All right. So we do have a quorum, and I believe we've got all the other folks here. Welcome, Sean. So what time do we got? Is it, we're right on time there? 5:45?
Yeah.
So why don't we call the meeting to order? Debbie, do you want to do roll call
All right. So Chair David Carroll,
here?
Vice Chair Leah Beth Pohl.
Sorry, here.
Okay. Therese Adams,
Here.
Clarice Ambler,
Here.
Martin Gilmore,
Here.
Mark Hessling,
Here.
Julie Parker. Has she joined yet? She has not.
She is not.
Councilmember Wink
Present.
and MOA Representative Tim Baca will not be present tonight. Staff, we have guest City Manager Sean Lewis. We have Director Christina Underhill and Library and Cultural Arts Manager Mark Mullis. All right, thank you.
Sean, if you're okay, we thought we'd approve the minutes, and then if you wanted to say anything, we weren't sure if you wanted to say a couple words or not.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm glad to wait.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys have seen the minutes yet. There really wasn't any motions other than the motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting. Everything else was an update on some of the projects that we were pursuing. So that was really it. And Mark letting us know about the student art calendar. So if I could get a motion to approve.
A motion.
Okay, Reese, motion to approve, and then a second.
Second.
Mark seconds. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to accepting these minutes? Great.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to take it back to the,
Okay.
and if I can note, we also do have a guest, Britt Fuchs, who will be making a presentation shortly. So sorry, Britt.
That's okay. Thank you.
It will be in our public comments section.
Correct.
So Sean, do you want to say anything now or just say hello with everybody and then we'll move on?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I just want to start out with how much city staff and I really just appreciate all the hard work that you all do. Frankly, being on a board of commission is a thankless job in many ways, but trying to be an arts and culture promoting commission during the middle of a pandemic is nearly impossible. But I just think you guys have been very innovative and proactive in your approach this year. And I just want to tell you that I really think that what you're doing makes a difference in the community. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I also want to say a big thanks to our staff that helps with this committee, Mark, Debbie, and Christina, who hopefully provide you guys with a good level of service. You know, I think that we as a society even really just don't realize the impact that arts and culture have on the economy of a community. One of the things that like David and a few of you may know is that in a past life, I was what was called a Main Street manager. And it was this hybrid downtown manager and arts and culture kind of promoter. and it was overseen by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and had different state chapters that had these positions embedded into cities throughout the country. One of the things that we really try to use was arts and culture and heritage tourism and performance art and visual arts to really try to promote the economic health in small communities and medium-sized communities in the U.S. And to some extent, I think I'm preaching to the choir, but as you know, the impacts of arts and culture are just huge. And I think it's the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis does an assessment of arts and culture to states' economies. And I think it was this year that the Arts and Cultural Production Satellite Account, ACPSA, some of you may know what that is, I'm not familiar, but I looked this up. In just in Colorado, the arts industries contribute more than $13.7 billion to the state's economy. And that employs over 100,000 people who earn $7 billion. So there's just so much of a circulatory effect of what arts and culture can do. And so I just want you to know that the things that you do for the community really go beyond just providing so much cultural enrichment to our residents, but it also really is important to our economy. Christina is going to talk to you more later this evening about some maintenance funding that we think we may have to assist you with some of your art maintenance projects, and I'll let her cover the details of that. But in short and in closing, Christina, Mark, and I just really want to empower this group to think big and think about how we can continue to use arts and culture to put Inglewood on the map and just provide arts and culture opportunities to the community. That our residents can enjoy, but also really promote economic development activity within the community. So with all that said, that was a lot. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you all may have for me, and I'll stay on for another minute or two, but I'm kind of excited to go home and watch some more election results because I was up till 2 in the morning watching that last night. I'm a junkie.
Go wild.
Yeah, any questions that you might have for me? All right, well, thanks for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman.
David, I think we lost your sound.
If I can note while we're waiting for David, Julie Parker has joined the meeting. Thank you.
David's still on mute.
He's unmuting, but it's not coming through. It was working.
Yeah. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Oh,
a sec.
You're right there. You're here.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to leave and come back. Okay, great. I just sent, you might see Julie has my name in her thing. Julie just texted me and said she couldn't get in, so I just emailed her my link. Hopefully that's okay, Debbie.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So we have Britt would like to speak to us about a project under our public comment section. Britt, just to let you know, we usually limit this to 3 minutes and then allow the commission members to have some questions right after. And so we'll give you the floor from there.
Certainly. Okay, I see a slide in the screen, and I just wanted to, before we go into that, just comment briefly. So I'd like to also say thank you very much to the board for the time, and also to Tim Baca for making it possible for me to meet Amanda Wolf. And through that process, we've also done some wonderful work with Jeff Shoemaker with the Greenway Foundation. Most recently today, we just had a terrific meeting with him. in that corridor there. So I just wanted to preview and just mention briefly the area. The scope of the focused area is in that Little Dry Creek Trail section, that corridor that is just west of Santa Fe Drive, so under the underpass, and then there's a wing there, and that will be featured in this slide as well. But I hope you're all familiar with that. There's a bike path that connects Inglewood under the South Platte, or excuse me, under the Santa Fe, that connects to the South Platte River bike trail, and it's really a opportunity zone that stands to be improved, and there's a lot of life that can be breathed into that area. So just to give a little bit of a back history, we have some terrific support from Inglewood Parks. Adrian Torres and Dave Lee have done some amazing work around just connecting the dots. We've actually CDOT, we've gotten approval from CDOT to do some work in that underpass. So they've approved, yes, go ahead to for the mural. We've gotten we checked all of the boxes that I'm aware of. So I'm happy to hear your questions. And then furthermore, just wanted to point out that we have excellent support from the Mile High Flood District as well. And super excited to do some cleanups, some safety kind of work. And then this enhancement around that mural opportunity that we're talking about. And so if you'd like, I can just go right into the slide. Now how to navigate that, I'll need a little bit of help from Debbie, I think, or if somebody doesn't mind. But Amanda Wolf, just to let you know, here's a picture of Amanda. She's an artist who has done some murals in Inglewood already. She has a site that is on the Frame Day Art Building, just next to Chick-fil-A, and then also over on the side of the building just to the north of that with the Twin Dragons. So you may be familiar with her work already. I am honored to meet her, and she's incredibly talented. So introducing this this opportunity to her, she did a proposal. We walked the site with Jeff, and Jeff Shoemaker was like, oh yeah, over the moon, like, wow, what opportunity, this is terrific. And he's stepped up to fund it. So it's like all the dots, everything is just there to make an incredible impact on that corridor, that gateway that sort of says, hey, you're riding your bike or walking. It's like, this is going to be a beautiful area. So this is like, I'm trying to rein in my enthusiasm. What I'm doing right now is asking the CAC to go ahead and approve the first phase, which is in the next couple slides. You'll see you can continue, and that's some example of her work. So this is the wall that's right under the Santa Fe. You can see the underpass there, and it's going to beat the heck out of any graffiti. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide, this is the rendering. The last one that was a mock-up. The one right before that, so that's the one that was approved through actually the one that we presented to Jeff Shoemaker, and you may have seen this already. And then I think we have one more last slide that you can click to keep going. So that was one, because I wanted to try and capture kind of riding a bike and the movement of a person kind of walking or activity on the trail. And there, I think we have that. There we go. That's the last one. So this is the first phase that Jeff has said, oh yeah, I'll pay for that, no problem. I'm gonna kind of hit pause on this and just sort of take questions, because I could go on. I mean, there's a lot more in terms of the potential for the future and working with community, pulling in high school kids and design work with the teachers and the students. And that could be then in springtime. So we're really kind of blending more, not only just on that one wall, but also adding above that entrance into the tunnel, just one thing that this comment that Jeff has on a little quote on a fortune cookie tag. It says, all great things had small beginnings. So this is kind of just like a drop in the bucket of what the potential is for that whole corridor that could include art, and it could also include recreation and connection from the Platte to, that's like the gateway, like welcome to Inglewood. So
Great.
that's
Well,
what I
thank you.
got.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please.
Does anybody have any questions? Mark?
Yeah, so this is when you're coming west into, or that's, so it's the west side of the tunnel that you're going to be doing this on?
That's right.
And is there thought to do the other side at some point or no?
Well, yes. I mean, that could. So what the next thought is on the second phase would be really pulling in opportunities into the tunnel, because that tunnel stands to be improved and I'd invite any of you to go take a look at that. But yes, so it's on the west side, that wing.
Mhm.
However, there's absolutely terrific opportunity for the other side as well.
Great.
Cool.
Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, this is Julie, and can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm on my phone. So forgive me for not being familiar with where this is, but could you give me a little bit more specifics on the cross streets? Yeah, I heard Santa Fe, but where is the trail? Where does it cross that?
Okay, so
I'm not familiar.
My apologies for not giving you a slide on that. Yes, it's right off of Dartmouth.
Okay.
So if you're driving, say, east or west on Dartmouth,
Okay.
towards Santa Fe, it's just, so it's between Santa Fe and South Platte River Drive.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Is anyone else?
I'd like to just, can I comment one more tiny
Sure.
thing? Okay,
Sure.
thank you. That it is a part of the initiative of that improvement for the whole kind of transition or improvement of that bank on the South Platte River, and that the bridge that connects South Platte River to the Little Dry Creek Trail. So that right now, if you're gonna kind of ride your bike down there or walk down there, you'll see right now they're doing a good job of patchwork over graffiti. So this is just gonna transition or transform the whole area. It's just gonna make an incredible difference.
Great.
I
I
have
see we
another
had a couple
question.
more. Wait, hold up, Julie.
Okay.
We've got a couple more questions or hands raised. Reese?
More of a comment rather than question, but as a cyclist, this is a really visible area. And I think that in partnership with the Greenway Foundation, which I can't say enough good things about, is I think a really interesting and special place. I also think Inglewood is kind of a community that looks forward towards Denver, and to link that whole passageway would be a really, I think, special experience for cyclists along that route. So I love it.
Great. Councilmember Wink?
Sorry, David. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, David. Hi, Britt. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Hi.
Hi. So thanks for this presentation. I'm curious about how all of this planning ties into the huge strategic undertaking that I think is maybe 7 years in to what I think that has 10 more years remaining for their funding in their project. But the group is called the South. I'm the liaison on it, and I was looking up the name because I always forget it. It's South Platte
River Working Group. Yeah.
I don't know if it's River Working Group, but it's got CDOT and the 285 and Maria DeAndre. Just several cities are involved. Is that what you're referring to? And
It is,
like a multi-million-dollar plan. Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Well,
Okay, go ahead. So we just met the other day, and this doesn't resonate, which is why I'm asking. So it might be user error. I just wanted to make sure there was alignment there.
Not at all. Yes. No, excellent question, because it's sort of an offshoot of the South Platte River Working Group, or maybe a precursor to the
Okay.
work. It's sort of like in terms of bridging what is so now to where that vision is going in the next, say, 5 to 7 years, and perhaps even may have the potential to just bring some things up a bit quicker, so that we're looking at safe walking paths along the Platte River, and then pulling in that art piece. It's just sort of tying in the work that the South Platte River Working Group is doing already. So it's not instead of, it's sort of, it's an adjunct, if you will, and in support of.
Yeah,
And I should tell you that, yes, Glenn Poole already is very familiar with the scope of what I'm presenting tonight.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Great. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Julie?
Oh, thank you. Apologies. Like I said, I'm on the phone and still learning how to use the little raise the hand thing. But anyway, so you had mentioned when you were discussing the mural earlier that currently they're patching over graffiti, and that obviously this would be a great improvement visually. But I wonder, is there any contingency plan or materials that are going to be in place to prevent graffiti from damaging this piece of our work?
Yeah, great question. There is a product that's actually Mural Coat, which is 300 square feet, is about $100 to cover that. So this is a part of the proposal in terms of the thought of like, okay, how is this going to be maintained? So it'll have a special coat on it. However, that's a consideration that it can be just wiped down or sprayed off easily. That's my understanding. And Amanda Wolf also has talked about whether, we can talk more about, well, can she come in and touch up stuff, and how will that be maintained over the course of time, is a focus point for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wink, I see did you intend to do that?
Thank you, Chair Carroll. I had one more thought in terms of just alignment, and it's with the Wayfinding Committee and their proposals, which will include the gateway artwork at Dartmouth and Santa Fe. Chair Carroll, do you feel that we should alert them to this, or just make them aware that this is being discussed while they're presenting plans to council in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea and where you're going. I've got a bit of a concern about the selection of the artist. Not that the artist isn't worthy, but we have a lot of artists in our community, and I know Amanda already has, I think, 2 or 3 murals in our community. And so giving those other artists an opportunity maybe would have been, maybe as you move in the future for other opportunities in other areas. I'm not completely sure how this whole plan works. That would be helpful as well. But then, as Councilmember Winks also mentioned, we do have there's a larger plan of wayfinding that talks about using those images or images that they've proposed in a similar fashion.
On the gateways to the city, yeah,
Right.
which includes an area that you're describing. So just maybe an FYI, Chair Carroll and I are on that task force. Britt.
And I'll ask about that later, because I'm not tied into that task force. So I'd be happy to know more about what their plans are or who's involved in that process. That'd be great.
And this is a sorry, Sean, did you have your hand up?
I did. Just wanted to comment on the placemaking. One of the things that I think is coming out of the Wayfinding and Placemaking Committee is some amazing work in wayfinding, but I would say we're probably going to be a little light on details in terms of placemaking. So things like this that are, what I mean, this not be offensive to the artist, but guerrilla kind of art that like we just randomly put art in a random place is exactly the kind of thing that creates placemaking in a community. And I think it would actually be a deterrent if we tried to make it thematic or like all kind of look and feel the same, or colors even. I just think it needs to be all really different, unique, quirky, stylistic, but that's just my opinion. So thanks.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Britt, for your presentation. I don't think anybody else real quick. Grab a hand. Nope, I think we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with your blessing, with the CAC's blessing, we're ready to move on the first phase. Probably not before this snowstorm this weekend, but as soon as the weather permits, we'll be jumping on it. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, guys. So the next item on the business or on the agenda is, I think from, we're almost at the end of a year now. And so Christina Underhill, Director Underhill, had suggested that we kind of look at our projects, kind of goal setting and our budget for 2021. And Debbie, am I allowed to share my screen? Did you give me any of that? No, I cannot do that.
David, let me stop share.
Okay. Let me see if I can just share this real quick.
Okay, you should be able to.
Does everybody see that? So this was what we, just to start off maybe, this is what we had originally budgeted for 2020, if you remember. And please, Debbie or Christina or Mark or anybody, if I have these numbers wrong, please let me know, at least in the fund balance and the proposed and where we were at. But I think we started off with around 86, 87,000. We had budgeted the 7,000 for our crosswalks, and that was just because we weren't sure at that time how much it would cost. And we were using numbers from Denver that said their crosswalk said something between, I think, 5 to 7. So we said if we could budget that. And then per our guidelines, and we talked about that, or it's guidelines somewhere. I don't know if guidelines is the right word, but there was, I believe there was an intent, maybe even with the 1% of the arts when it was, when that was approved, that 25% of those monies would be set aside for conservation a little bit. And so we did, that was around 21,000. And then, this was pre-COVID when we set this budget up, right? So we had the pop-up concerts. We thought we'd be doing the Inglewood Block Party. And then we had the Swedish Horse Project. And that left us with about 17,000 had we spent all of that. And what we ended up really spending is really only the 2,600 for the crosswalks. And then we were going to spend an additional 1,500 to help MOA with their crosswalk because it came out for a little bit more, but then they were able to find some additional funding. And then really we haven't spent anything else. Just, I think, in part because we're in the middle of this pandemic trying to figure out, what can we do and what can we not do. So that's where we're at. So that if those numbers again are correct, as we've put it out there, we've got a balance that would forward for 2021 of 83,000. So Christina, I don't know if I think you guys had some suggestions on projects. I don't know if you want to share those now, or we can just kind of take people's thoughts on whether they want, do we move some of these things over as we did? I think that if we all agree that 25% of the guidelines, 25% of the budget would be used for conservation of existing public. We could move that obviously over to 2021. But I think at this point, it's open for discussion.
Yeah, the one project that I know we'd like to probably add, I have no idea what the cost will be, but it'll be part of the project list, would be the mushrooms at Romans Park. We're doing phase 1 of renovations there with a new playground and basketball courts, and phase 2 is coming online next year to renovate the restroom and walking path. So that park's going to be pretty nice, and the mushrooms are that standard grayish brown color. So if you haven't been by there, the playground has been upgraded. It's very colorful, kind of like Alice in Wonderland type pieces. So it's fun. And the thought would be to do something lively with the mushrooms as well. So that would be my one recommendation. I don't know if Mark has any that he'd like to propose.
I don't know if it would be, yeah, I think we're referring to the library book drops.
I am not, no.
Okay, I'm asking Christina. Oh, but it's fine.
Oh,
yeah, the one thing that I would certainly like to consult you all on is we have 7 book drops outside of the library. 3 are on the plaza side, and then 4 are in the parking garage side. They're beige, not particularly attractive, but we're getting those cleaned up, and we would like to get them wrapped similarly to the traffic boxes. And so at some point we would like to, talk to you all about, what art we might do on those. I don't know, I'll have to talk to Christine about whether that's something the library can budget for, or that's something that would make sense to do as part of this. We'd request it. But that's the only thing I'd add.
What's the ETA on the mushrooms?
Well, they're there. So
Is there like, when is the park project going? When's the desired completion date?
So then the phase 2 portion will kick off after the snowfall and the winter. So late spring, summertime, probably wrap up early fall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, I would anticipate August, September timeframe. I think right now the project's wrapping up in November, but we got a little late start because of COVID and a contractor issue. So yeah, I'd say late next year.
Great.
So just I'll just share a little bit too as we talk about this. I know Clarice has done that work when we were again talking about an arts plan, which is in part of our charter, I think, and what we were supposed to be doing. We went through the beginning phases of talking about what was important, and then we had that survey out there that I think, did we get over 100 folks, Clarice? Close to 100 people that, depending on what you read on significant numbers, in some cases, having the variety of the people that we had fill out that survey seems to suggest that there was some significance to what they had said. And a large part of what I think that came out of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clarice, is that we would have, people wanted more festivals, more events. I would say, to extrapolate that a bit, more block parties, basically. That's such a popular thing, but obviously we can't do those, but more ideas along that realm. And then more public art. I think were those the 2 kind of top ones? Grace, yeah. And so I think what we had done though, and just to remind everybody that has not been with us for a while, and Leah Beth, again, feel free to chime in, is when we first did this conservation report on our current public art, the price tag was somewhere around $60,000 for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. And so with that in mind, we felt it was somewhat inappropriate to add more static pieces of public art in the collection when we can't even we didn't seem to be taking care of the ones that we had already had yet. And so that's where I think some of the pop-up concerts came in. and some of the, the chalk artist of the block party, which disappears at the end. And the only one that we had that was somewhat public, but that came again to remind everybody from encouragement from Dan Parimba out of the, I believe out of the Office of Economic Development, I might have that wrong, was to do that Swedish Horses project.
That's correct.
Yeah. So what I'm going to throw out a couple things, if maybe to get us started on just kind of talk this through a little bit. We can add those mushrooms in the library boxes as well. But wondering how you all felt about continuing to kind of have a small fund in our artistic crosswalks, so that we might do another crosswalk, or we might use those funds, again, if this is appropriate, Christina or Mark, tell me if this would be appropriate, to assist a community group or a business that wanted to do a crosswalk. Depending on how much cost that would be, we could, help them out if they came to us and presented and it was approved and all of those kind of things. So we might throw something in there. And then in order to help with the festival types idea, or the events types idea, maybe we have another initiative pocket of money that people can, or organizations can come to this group and suggest additional help with funding. And if this group agrees with that approach, then we would go through the steps to get that, the appropriate steps to get that money approved.
So what you're trying to say is to have money available for people if they were to, say, kind of apply for a grant from the CAC if they wanted to host some sort of cultural event in the city.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can give you an example. I know the owners of the Grand and Zomo were both talking, had mentioned that to me a while back about an idea that they had that was related to the arts. And they said, is there an opportunity? We're not asking you guys to do it. We're not asking the city to do it, but is there an opportunity that the Arts Fund could help fund this event if we presented it in such a way? I said at that point, there is not, because we don't have that set aside, but that might be an opportunity to allow either another small nonprofit or some other group to come. And again, I don't know, Mark and Christine, if that fits within our guidelines to do that, but that would seem like that could satisfy that desire that we're seeing within the survey of people wanting more kind of event type, festival type things. No. Yeah. So does either of those sound?
We're asking me, Christina, if that's within the purview.
We might have lost people. Did we lose some people?
Not sure.
Mark, from what I gathered, that sounded like what he was talking about.
Yeah, I just didn't hear a response. Christina, I was going to defer to you to respond.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with this. We can, if this is the direction that the CAC wants to go from a staff perspective, we'll just double check. But at this point, I don't see any issues with setting aside some grant or sponsorship type money that could be used towards next year events that may come up.
We definitely used to do that. I believe we used to support some events in Hampton Hall when I first started on the CAC. So while that was a very specific event that happened every year, it's pretty much in the same realm, I would say. And the funds were there and supported by Parks then, but I know times have changed too, so.
I certainly like the idea of being able to be responsive, to being flexible, to be able to be responsive to community interest. So
I think we shouldn't make that kind of fill our pot for events, though. I know that we can't host an event ourselves, but I know that, Christina, you were saying that Tony Arnaldi is possibly going to be a little bit more involved in our meetings in the coming future. And even just to be maybe on some sort of subcommittee as the CAC, or, involved in some sort of way in support of a cultural event, I think is kind of personally where I think we should go with it, you know, if they're planning something for the city, we should be a part of it too. I know we can't do it on our own though, so I know that's not really a budget line item, but it is planning, so.
Right. Yeah, I mean, in the past, you guys have helped support, like we've talked about, the block party and other elements of events by sponsoring a booth or whatever it may be. So I don't see any issue with that, budgeting some dollars to put forward if events do occur, or if other nonprofits or community groups want to put it on an event next year, we'd have some funding to help them out if they fit our goal.
Okay. So here, I'm going to do this real quick, guys, just so we can. 83,707. 83.
Spreadsheet it up, David.
Okay, I will. So what if we say, I mean, if we were able to do, again, 7,000 for our, whoops, that's 70,000. 7,000 for crosswalks, and whether we do something or we support another group to do that, we keep the 21,599 for the conservation, and we'll try to get those done. We maybe throw in 10,000 for event support, and like you said, Leah-Beth, maybe that gets used up for in different events in different ways.
Yeah.
We add, do you know how much the mushroom park project would be, Christina?
I have no clue. It's kind of depending on what artists we get and what the art's going to be. You know, if it's a mosaic, it may be quite expensive. It's just a mural or painting, it might not be as much. So
Yeah, I mean, would we be saying, by supporting that project, would we be saying that we would pay for the artist, or how would that work for us? I mean, sometime in the past, I think some situations muralists have come in and said, I just want to put my art here, can I? And they've paid for everything, but then in other situations we've supported it. So do you have any idea, David or Christina, kind of on the vision of what that would look like? Or
I don't yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I know from the park side, they don't have really any funding to do something out there, and that's why they pitched it this way. But it could be a call to artists and present the project and just see what we get. Somebody may have something great that would do for little to no cost, just to have their art. You're right. So yeah, this was just up in the air. It's an option.
And do we know if I mean, I guess we'll assume that the Inglewood Block Party would happen again.
Let's assume that. It'd be nice if it did.
Yeah.
It's not looking promising, but fingers crossed.
The assumption, right?
Okay.
Are we nixing pop-up concerts then for next year, or?
There was an organization that took those over, right?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Atria just did it for a short period of time because they wanted to do something for the community for those. I don't believe the person that was in charge of that has since left to another position in another organization. So I don't believe that they would do that.
Well, I'm happy to keep doing it. It's not that big of a deal for me to book it. So if we want to keep doing it, I'm open for it.
If we throw that in there.
Yeah.
So that would, if we did it like this, those things. I guess the other thing that did come out of Public Works to share was the idea that we might have a contest with all our high schools and elementary schools, middle schools, to design a box, an electric traffic box near their school.
That's cute.
And so we would end up, with the art, we would judge the art, or someone would judge the art. We could select the winners, and then the traffic boxes. Public Works says that the traffic boxes are a lot less of heartburn than the crosswalks to do.
Yeah.
So if we did that,
would we fund that?
So we would fund, that was the idea, that we would fund it if we were to do that. And if that was, how many schools do we have? 6? 1, 2, we got 1, 2, 3, let's say 6.
4 elementary schools, a middle school, and 2 high schools. Is that right?
Yeah, so 4, 5, 6, 7.
I have a child. I should know that.
Yeah.
I know where the ones are closest to my house.
Exactly. I know where Cherry Lynn is. That's it.
So these are, I think they're 1,500 a piece. So that gets a little, so if we, you know, did the event support or something like that.
Well, do we not just want to take, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about a crosswalk, but do we not just want to take the money away from the crosswalks and then support that project next year, and then maybe the next year do a crosswalk? I mean, this is all for 2021, right, David?
Correct.
Okay, because the top says 2020. I was just double checking.
Oh,
I know it was your actual 2020 column, so that's why it says that.
I was just kind of, that was my actual, so yeah, I was
No, it's
kind
fine.
of doing that.
That
So
seems like a more appropriate place to take it from anyway.
okay. So then,
Does anyone oppose to that? I don't want to be moving around money that's not mine, obviously.
Julie, did you have something? I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, was this, you know, are these projects that are already kind of in the works, or were we talking about ideas? Because I had an idea.
I think we can take ideas because they aren't in the works. So the only thing that
Okay.
Yeah, it's projected.
we've
Well-
done in the past is the pop-ups and the block party. And then
And the
we have
crosswalk.
a format for the crosswalks and the traffic boxes, of course.
So, as you guys were talking about the, you know, the conservation of existing public art and how that's kind of a pain to maintain it over time, being an art conservator, I understand that. I had the idea that, like, I've seen in other, I think, like, across the street from the Arvada Center, they've got a big field and they do like short-term exhibitions of public art, and then it goes back to the artist. So no conservation needed. And I thought, you know, as you guys are talking about that, like maybe we could have a space that was like a rotating temporary, or, you know, 1 year or something for artists to install some sort of public art and then take it away at the end. And I mean, that almost would be like, it'd be something cool to see. It changes and you could have a little, hey, we're unveiling the new artwork, or maybe a contest, or I don't know. That was just my idea.
Do you have an idea of where that would go? Did you say that? I'm sorry.
No, I guess I'm not familiar enough with the different sites, but
Yeah.
it just from the logistical perspective, it would, you know, if you're going to be rotating out and having different footings for things, you'd probably just a large space that has a gravel pad at the bottom that you could then put anchors into or something. So I'm not sure what sort of park situation we have, but I don't know.
Well, a while ago, when I first, when I first got on the CAC, and Tom Kruk was our chair, he suggested we possibly do a rotating gallery in the inside of the front doors of the rec center.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what that looks like now, because I think there's been some revamping.
No, not yet. It's still
Not yet. Okay.
not yet.
But an indoor space, I guess, would, some place like that that's kind of more visited wouldn't be so terrible to manage logistically. I guess kind of similar to the rotating art they have inside of the corridor near MOA, you know, something like that. But just
Julie,
piggybacking.
how much do either of those, would those cost? I think those are great ideas because again, they don't require conservation.
Yeah, I think if you were just hanging wall art, I don't know how much that would even cost. I mean, I know.
Of course, with me and my scale, I was thinking like large interactive outdoor art, but you know, so I don't know about cost, but I mean, if you were just providing a space and, you know, publicity or whatever for it, then I don't know.
Sure.
Probably would have to look into that a little bit more.
I believe at one time as well, as I've heard from some city staff, that there wasn't the intention to, when the bus, the train was called the art bus,
Mhm.
that those at each stop would be a rotating work of art. I don't think it ever came out of this commission. It came out of economic development, because they have the list of some of the works and where they've gone and some that are still there. But that was another idea, that they would be placed along the trolley stops. So.
So the place that I was mentioning earlier is there's a sculpture field at the Urbana Center, just, you know, for comparison. I mean, they have like 30 different pieces out there, and I'm not sure what sort of arrangements, but I mean, if that was a sort of a model, I'm sure we could talk to people that are working with that and find out how they do that.
It's
I
part of
think
the
that's a really-
that's part of the Arvada Arts Center that's right there, is what that outdoor installation is part of.
Well, my understanding was there's two. They've got the sculptures that are actually owned by the Urbana Center, and then there's a park right across the street.
I hadn't seen that.
That's the rotating, because I
Display.
know an artist that had a piece that was out there for a little while. So that it seemed like it was separate from the Urbana Center itself. But, you know, I mean, if that's something people were interested in, it certainly wouldn't hurt. I could ask, or
Yeah, reach out to that artist and see what went into logistically putting his art out there. Did he have to supply the moving of it and the anchoring and all that jazz, or did Arvada supply that?
okay. And, you know, I guess if we have contacts in the city of Arvada, maybe we could ask on that side too. I'd be happy to do that. I just don't know who to talk to.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, similar to that is the Swedish Horse Project. I mean, in a way, right? I mean, it's placing those objects along a path that would you know, stay there for some period of time, and then they would be removed. So.
Okay, so those are temporary, a long-term temporary sort of thing.
Yeah.
As long as they will last.
Yeah, I think that the original proposal was something between 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, they were going to put a crazy coating on them.
They probably should be fine then.
This is crazy to think, but aren't they redoing Civic Center eventually?
Sure.
Mark? Mark's like, I can't speak to that. That'd be cool to put out in front of Civic Center, but that could be like 10 years from now, so who knows? Some sort of rotating sculpture.
There is some concern over the price tag on that project, the Swedish Horse Project. Is that correct? Or Mark? One of the either.
Oh, are you talking? Sorry, I thought you said Reese.
I was just there's some concern.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about temporary, 3 to 5 years, you know, if you're looking at something that's going to say 10 years or longer, the concern is the price tag on it. But if it's something the commission really is passionate about, wants to do, you know, we can definitely move forward with it. But yeah, I mean, for $35,000 for hopefully 5 years, there might be other opportunities to do more art throughout Inglewood.
David, do you have any idea how long like the cows in other towns and things like that have lasted? Is it just 3 to 5 years? I mean, I feel like I see those out. And then also in Florida, we had like sea turtles and manatees, same kind of situation. And when they were kind of at their end of life, you could auction them off for people to put other places or put them indoors. So that's a possibility of kind of not like return on investment, but you know, some sort of money back.
I mean, just my experience with working with sculptures of those materials is they last substantially longer than that. But I remember when I first joined the commission, we were discussing like how those were going to be prepared, and that makes a big difference. Like the undercoatings on those.
So yeah, AMPA was planning on putting an undercoating of sorts, and then once the artist finished painting them, they were also going to take them back and put a clear coat UV coating on them as well. And then they're just plexiglass, so I suppose if someone were to run their car into them, they'd totally break. But
yeah, I mean, my suspicion would be they'd be last substantially longer than 5 years. So
I think the 3 to 5 came from talking to the folks at San Luis Obispo and folks that did it in Chicago. So I called those folks up and I said, and to your point, they said they kept it 3 to 5, the project, because ultimately what they were trying to do was auction everything off afterwards and then use that money to support. But it was just a temporary, again, it was just a temporary thing. And then businesses that bought those, that's why you still see those horses around, is because the city bought some of the cows in Denver. The city bought some. You'll see some businesses have bought some. You know, I didn't know if it was, I think as we were talking about that, auctioning was somewhat out of the realm of what we were planning on doing, but we had taken the numbers. How we got to the 35 was talking to those 2 cities and the people that did it in those cities. And they gave us the kind of the costs of what it would be. And then part of it was talking to AMPA and asking them the other part of how much that would. So that's how those costs came up. But, and again, you know, that project came, if you remember, for some of you that have been there that long, came when Dan and Allison, the previous communications director, brought Peter Fromeyer from Swedish, and they came to us and said, listen, we're going to throw these things in the trash because our new CEO doesn't want them in the storage room. Do you guys want them? And Dan and both of them saw that as some kind of a project similar to that. The reason this has taken us so long is, you know, we've had changes in both staff and monies, and so yeah, just trying to get that done. So
David, has there been any discussion about this project in that wayfinding committee that you're on?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Yeah. It's a little different. Yeah.
Okay. I just was wondering.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say also in that $35,000, I think there's a line item for about $4,000 that's purely for like an artist reception. And considering this will probably, if we move forward with it, will come to fruition in the age of COVID, there may not be a large party that was like once perhaps planned. So there may be some flexibility, a little bit of, yeah, there might be a little bit of budget room there.
Okay.
I think we should keep it on the budget, on the projected possible projects.
Okay. Grace, Mark, you guys, Martin?
I think keep it. And if it needs to be moved to something like gifts for the artist or something like that, or other types of recognition, if we can't throw a reception, then we have the flexibility to potentially do that.
Keep it at 35, you mean?
Oh, sorry.
Or just keep it on the thing. Yeah. Okay.
My instinct is to keep it, just because we've been working on it so long. That's kind of my reason. But yeah, I don't know. It's been, this whole pandemic has kind of thrown everything into delay. So
yeah.
But
okay.
I'd like to see it happen, but that's you know, if.
Okay.
I think we should move forward. We've done a lot of work on it, a lot of research on it. I think that there's a lot of people in the community that would get a lot of joy out of being a part of the project. Just keep trying.
Cool. Does take a lot of work. So, okay. So just Mark and Christina, I mean, at times this is where we, you know, would get to, sometimes we would tie it back to the larger plan, but with the need to kind of get this out there, we could surely do something like that. We could add in there, I suppose we could throw in the mushrooms, you know, 8,000 if you want, or we could get, you know, more information on that. And then it could look like that. And then what I'm hearing you say, I think, is that we need to take something like this, if all the numbers are right, if we do have 83,000 in there and that's what the numbers look like, then that needs to go to council for approval. Is that correct?
I believe, yeah, that's the direction we're going to go. Probably start of next year, there'll be a presentation from the CAC to council, just letting them know the intent for the 2021 season and what you all want to accomplish, what we've budgeted for, and hopefully we can accomplish some of these projects in 2021, if not all.
Okay. Great. So I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. We okay with that for now? Great. I'll stop.
Sounds good.
I'll stop sharing there. So real quick, Shadows of Sleepy Hollow update. Just I don't know if do you have anything, Julie? If you don't, that's okay.
It was a galloping success. No, I saw lots of staff and people from the commission. Thank you for coming. It was great to see you. We're working on now wrapping up a survey with participants, as well as I've been collecting testimonials from the businesses we worked with. Definitely got feedback that they got business come in, traffic, and me as a devoted patron at Zomo now, I love all their food. But anyway, yeah, so we're just kind of wrapping things up now, but we'll definitely be able to provide more of a report that has that information in it by the next meeting. So, but as far as the feedback we've heard so far, everybody really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Great. I hope I'm not talking out of school, but I did see Reese and her sister afterwards having libations at Zomo. So.
David.
That was good. Thank you. So there, I think Santa Fe Underpass project that we got a little bit. Christina, did you want to give any more information on that?
No, I think Britt covered everything that she wanted to. Unless there's any major opposition to it, this project is pretty much complete to move forward. Unless anybody says no way, we don't support this.
How do we? I mean, I think we could surely make a motion to support it and do that. How do we go about indicating that it would be nice to broaden the scope of our artist group if they continue to do these types of projects? I'm willing to, that's the only objection I have to the project, is I feel like we have an artist that, again, not that they're not good, but we just have a lot of other artists that haven't had an opportunity. And it would be nice if there was some kind of process by which those artists could have been recognized. I know this was an MOA artist and they were just going straight to MOA, and that's fine too, but it'd be nice if we could try to, I don't know, throw something in there and just say, can you look at other artists in Inglewood as well?
Yeah, and I think you guys kind of covered that with Britt when she was on the call, and then letting Tim Baca know the same thing, that we want to diversify what we've got in Inglewood, and hopefully that helps. This one literally landed in the parks desk, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was like ready to hit the road, and we thought we had to pay for it. We thought it was going to come out of parks funding, which they don't have anything. And as we started to ask more questions, everything was funded. They had gotten the appropriate approvals from CDOT and the Greenway Foundation, with the funding and all. So this one kind of put the cart before the horse, but without coming to CAC first. So that's why we're trying to rush to get to you guys before they actually did anything, because we knew there may be a concern with the artists. But yeah, I think moving forward, making sure we have everybody on board, knowing we want to diversify as much as possible.
Can I ask just a really quick question? And maybe this was covered at the beginning of the meeting and I just somehow missed it, but like, where did this come from? Where did the mural come from?
Good question. Good, out of the sky. No, I think Britt she's kind of an activist in the community from what I understand, and is always looking for ways to improve, and knew this trail was just not a well-kept area. And the more she talked to me about it, this mural was kind of the launch, a beautification of that whole path, and the partnership with the schools and a cleanup. And so it's kind of one piece of a very large project that Britt's heading up to work on.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And then David, I only have one other item just to mention, and Martin and I can talk offline if needed, probably needed. We do have some extra funding. Originally, we thought that we were going to have a deficit for the city of Inglewood, but we've had better than expected revenue. And it's left us with a little small surplus. And Sean thought of the CAC and knowing that we have pieces of art that needs to be maintained. And then we haven't been able to do it successfully. So one thought was we have two items, the red wedges and the cone flowers over by Walmart that are in need. Our challenge is if we can get those maintained and fixed up before the end of this year, because that's when the money is gone. So, Martin, do you have any?
I have a list of questions, but it's basically the same question everybody has: is if they're going to redevelop that area for where the red wedges are, do we want to do that maintenance work before that happens? And then, because it costs to move them, or do we want to wait until that happens? I guess, yeah, that was kind of the primary question about those things. I get the cone flowers, I assume will probably stay. So.
No, that's a great question. And I don't know with the redevelopment if it's probably not tomorrow that it's happening. So they could last 10 years or longer before anything major happens. And we could cross that bridge too of relocating art pieces if there is redevelopment occurring.
Yeah, I think that was just the big question about the red wedges is what the timeline of that is, and if it's going to be a long while, then maybe it's better to do the maintenance now.
Okay.
And if they're going to get relocated, I don't know. I had a list of questions about that, but
okay. Why don't you and I talk
the big
offline?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine. Yeah, I have a meeting at 7, but
We'll get going.
Yeah.
I just have one last, on that, I think too, what we understood is, even if you got them conserved and you didn't put them back, I think it's worth getting them conserved now because some of the damage, they seem to be at the high level of damage, or not damage, or what do you
condition?
Yeah, the wrong thing, but
yeah.
So they would be good to be taken care of.
Okay.
All right. So last on the list is Oh, Mark, do you have anything? I'm sorry.
I'm good. Thank you.
Cheryl, do you have anything you want to say? I'm trying to get Commission's choice. All right, we'll go through. Martin, since you got to go, do you got anything you want to say or talk about? No?
Nope, nothing.
Mark?
No, just got to go do some stuff too. So.
Reese? Nope. Leah Beth?
Just good to see everybody.
Clarice?
Nothing for me.
Julie? Nothing?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm going to just real quick, the project that I had mentioned a little bit before that we didn't bring here but was interest was both Erica and Elisa from Zomo, Erica from the Grand. I don't know if you guys happen to see, we worked with the Inglewood Historical Society on this thing called Murals and Mason Jars. And that went really well. That was the project that they wanted to bring in front of the commission, but we did find some other funding and that worked really well. We had close to 75 people signed up. Probably half of those people were from outside of Denver or outside of Inglewood. They were from Denver and elsewhere. And they came down, walked around our city, looked at our murals, won prizes. And so it might be something in the future that could be added to the bigger group, if there were an opportunity to add for bands. But again, it was another safe way for people to get in the city. The one comment I thought was really kind of interesting and cool was somebody said, "This is really cool. You should really incorporate all the murals that Denver has." And we immediately were like, "No, this is an Inglewood thing. That's the whole point. We're trying to show off Inglewood, folks." And so, and then the other comment was somebody said, "I don't think Littleton has anything like murals like this that we could do, right?" And we said, "No, again, Inglewood, that's where." So it was kind of showing off Inglewood. It was a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody. Sorry this meeting took so long.
That's okay.
Thank you.
We will see y'all next time. What is it, Debbie? 6:53. We'll
6:53.
offline. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Christine, I'll send you an email.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Bye.